7 habits. That is all it took to quiet a mind that had not been still in years. But here is the part no one tells you. Not a single one of them starts with empty your mind. Because you have tried that. You have lain in the dark at 2 in the morning trying to think about nothing. And it has never once worked. The Bible knows why. The human mind was never designed to go blank. The original Greek has a word for what is happening inside your anxious head right now. It is merimna, and it literally means a mind pulled apart, fragmented, scattered into a dozen worried pieces at once. And the cure for a fragmented mind was never to make it empty. It was to give it something whole to hold on to. That is what these 7 scriptural habits do. And by the time we reach the 7th, we are going to land on one single Greek word, written by a man in chains, that will finally explain why your mind does not need to go blank at all. It needs to be guarded, and that word may be the most important thing you hear all week. We begin where the weight first gets too heavy to hold. The first habit is the one every other habit leans on. You have to put the weight down, not manage it, not reorganize it into tidy little piles. Put it down, because a worried mind is a mind trying to carry what it was never built to carry. The health of everyone she loves, the bills, the grown child who stopped calling, the appointment on Thursday, all of it, all at once, all day long. Peter, a fisherman who knew exactly what a heavy, dripping net felt like on tired shoulders, said it plain, "Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you." That word casting, in the original Greek it is eperipto, and it is not a gentle handing over. It is the picture of a man heaving a soaked net clean off his back and throwing it into the boat. The same word used when the disciples hurled their garments onto the donkey before Christ rode into Jerusalem. You do not set your worry down politely so you can pick it up in an hour. You hurl it. And Paul adds the method. Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. In everything. You name the worry out loud to God, one burden at a time, and you leave it in His hands. Here is the shift. The next time your mind reaches to pick that worry back up, and it will, out of 40 years of habit, you catch yourself, and you say, I already gave that one to the Lord. Hannah did this in the temple. She poured out her grief before God, and her countenance changed before her circumstance did. The weight left her face before the answer left heaven. And one more thing. Do not add tomorrow's worry on top of today's. Jesus himself said the day has enough trouble of its own. Do not borrow from next week's account, just today. Some thoughts do not wait to be invited. They break down the door at 3 in the morning. You are going to end up alone. God has forgotten you. It is all going to fall apart. And the anxious mind has believed a lie for years, that every thought that shows up must be entertained. Paul, a man with a mind sharp enough to argue before kings, flat refused to live that way. He wrote, casting down imaginations, and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. And here is the detail that changes everything. That phrase, bringing into captivity, the Greek is aikmalotizo. It comes from akashme, the point of a spear, and haliskomai, to be conquered. It is the picture of marching a prisoner of war off the battlefield in chains. The thought is not your commander. The thought is the prisoner. You do not have to argue with it. You do not have to believe it, just because it arrived loud and sure of itself. Paul knew this from the inside. In a jail in Philippi, beaten, feet locked in stocks, midnight pressing down, Paul and Silas could have rehearsed every dark thought that screamed at them. Instead, at midnight Paul and Silas prayed and sang praises unto God. They captured the thoughts of despair and replaced them with worship. And the earthquake came after. The shift is to stop being afraid of your own mind. When the dark thought arrives, nobody cares about you. God has moved on. You do not spiral down the stairs after it. You grab it at the door and hold it up against what you know is true. Is that true of the God who bled and died for me? No? Then it does not get the keys to the house. That is habit number 2. And once you can capture a thought, the next question is what you are going to feed your mind instead. Your mind is going to chew on something tonight. It cannot sit empty. It will feed on whatever is nearest. And for a worried heart, What is nearest is almost always the wound. The thing someone said at dinner. The worst-case scenario. The offense you have replayed 40 times. So Paul hands you a filter, and it is worth writing down and taping to your kitchen wall. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. Now that phrase, think on these things, the Greek is logizomai, and this is where it gets extraordinary. Logizomai was an accounting term, a bookkeeper's word. It means to calculate, to audit, to do the books. Paul is not telling you to wait until you feel positive. He is telling you to perform an audit of your own mind. What are you counting? What are you putting on the ledger? It is a command, an act of will, not a mood. David understood this. In the Psalms, he commands his own soul, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits." David is doing logizomai. He is making the soul do the books, count the mercies, tally the faithfulness. And here is the insight hiding inside the old word for meditation. The Hebrew word haggah, the word used in the very first psalm, means to mutter, to chew over and over. Friend, you are already an expert at meditation. You have been meditating all day long. You have just been chewing on the wrong thing. The shift is not to stop ruminating. It is to change the menu. You are not emptying the mind. You are replacing what the mind eats. One mercy from this week. One line from a hymn you have known since girlhood. One true, honest, lovely thing, set deliberately in front of your mind on purpose. The fourth habit is the hinge that every other habit turns on. Because even after you have cast the worry, captured the thought, and changed the menu, there is still the question of where the whole mind is pointed. Isaiah, writing to people whose entire world was shaking apart, left a single sentence that is the closest thing to a cure the anxious mind will ever find. This side of heaven, thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. Read that slowly. Perfect peace. And in the Hebrew, it is not one word for peace, it is two. Shalom, shalom. Peace doubled. The deepest, most complete peace there is. And it is promised to one kind of mind, the mind that is stayed on God. That word stayed is the Hebrew samak. It means to lean your full weight against something, a heavy beam propped on its load-bearing post. Your anxious mind is not a broken mind, friend. It is a mind leaning its whole weight on the wrong post. Leaned on the diagnosis, so it shakes every time the diagnosis shakes. Leaned on the bank account, so it trembles with every bill. Jehoshaphat knew this moment. 3 armies were marching toward him. He had no strategy, no plan, no strength left. And this is all he said. Neither know we what to do, but our eyes are upon thee. He took his mind off the problem and stayed it on God. And God fought the battle without Jehoshaphat lifting a sword. The shift is to notice, all through the ordinary day, what your mind is leaned against right now. The worry, the account, the diagnosis. And then to lean it back onto him, on purpose, again and again. From the sickness to the healer, from the bill to the provider, from the problem to the God who is bigger than the problem. That is 4. And the one that comes next is, for a busy woman, the hardest word on this whole list. Be still. And I already know those 2 words may be the most difficult ones in this entire video for you to hear. Because you are the one who fixes things. You cook, you clean, you drive, you hold the whole family together with your own 2 hands. And stillness feels like laziness, or weakness, or giving up. But listen to how God says it. In a psalm written while the mountains were crumbling into the sea. Be still, and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heathen, I will be exalted in the earth. That phrase, be still, the Hebrew is rapha, and it does not mean sit quietly and try harder to relax. Rapha means let go, release your grip, drop your hands. It is the word you would speak to someone clutching a rope so tight her knuckles have gone white. God is not commanding you to manufacture a peaceful feeling. He is telling you to stop trying to hold the whole world together by the raw force of your worrying. because that was never your job. And here is the beautiful thing hiding inside that verse. Rapha, release, is the prerequisite for the next word. Know. Know that I am God. That word know is yada. Intimate, experiential knowing. You only know God that deeply when you finally stop trying to be God. When you open those white-knuckled hands and let go. Martha could not do it. Jesus looked at her and said, Martha, Martha, thou art careful and troubled about many things. She was a good woman. She loved him, but her hands were clenched. The shift is one still moment. 5 minutes at the kitchen table before the house wakes up. Hands open in your lap, not clenched. Fixing nothing, solving nothing. Just knowing that he is God, and you are safely not. And when a mind finally does go still, the first thing it discovers is just how bone-tired it truly is, which is exactly where the next habit meets you. The mind fights its hardest battle at night. All day you can outrun the worry. There are meals to cook and errands to run and grandchildren to mind. But then the house in Knoxville or the apartment in Charlotte goes quiet. The distractions fall away, and the worry you outran since sunup finally catches you flat on your back in the dark. The ceiling turns into a movie screen, and you are still awake at 2, doing the math on problems that cannot be solved at 2 in the morning. But before you lay your head down, there is one account to settle. Paul wrote, Be ye angry, and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Empty the grudge. Forgive the person out loud, even before the feeling catches up. Because carrying a grievance to the pillow turns it into bitterness by morning. Close the day's ledger with God before the lamp goes off. And then hear what David wrote. And remember, this was a man who had every reason to stay awake with one eye open. His own son Absalom was hunting him. 10,000 enemies surrounded him. And this is what he said, I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. That word safety, the Hebrew is batak. It means security, refuge. David does not sleep because the danger has passed. He sleeps because his safety never depended on him staying awake to guard it. And Proverbs turns it into a flat promise. When thou liest down, thou shalt not be afraid. Yea, thou shalt lie down, and thy sleep shall be sweet. Sleep is the most honest act of trust there is. Every night you close your eyes, you let go of every control, and you trust that someone stays awake while you cannot. The shift is to make lying down a prayer. Lord, you never sleep, so I can. I hand you the night. And now, the 7th habit, the one that ties all of this together. Everything we have walked through tonight, the casting, the capturing, the filtering, the staying, the releasing, the sleeping, all of it has been preparing you for this. Because after you have done every one of those 6 things, there is still one question left. What stands at the gate of your mind when you are too tired to stand there yourself? Here is the answer, and it comes from a man in chains. Paul wrote the letter to the Philippians from inside a Roman prison. He was literally guarded by soldiers. He knew exactly what an armed sentry looked like. He had heard the boots on the stone floor outside his cell every single night. And from that cell, with iron on his wrists, he wrote these words, And the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. And here is the word I have been saving for you since the very beginning of this video. That word keep. In the Greek it is phrowereo. And phrowereo is not a gentle word. It is a military term. It means to guard as a garrison. Armed soldiers posted at the gate of a walled city, deciding what is allowed in and what is turned away. When you hand your worry to God in prayer, He does not leave the gate of your mind, standing open for anything to wander through. He stations His own peace there, like a sentry on the wall. And look at what kind of peace it is. It is the peace that passeth all understanding. Not the peace that finally comes once you have figured the whole thing out. Because you are never going to figure the whole thing out. Not on this side of glory. This is the peace that guards you even while nothing has been explained. Even while the problem is still sitting right there in the room. Do you see it now? Your mind was never meant to be emptied. It was meant to be guarded. The fragmented mind, the merimnao mind, scattered into a dozen anxious pieces, was never going to be healed by going blank. It was going to be healed by being gathered back together and placed under guard. Every single one of these 7 habits, casting the weight, capturing the intruder, changing the menu, leaning on God, releasing the grip, laying down in trust. They are not 7 clever techniques. They are 7 ways of bringing the scattered mind back to one place so that the peace of God can mount guard at the gate. The man who wrote that promise was in chains. He was guarded by Roman soldiers every hour of every day, and he looked at those soldiers and said, "The peace of God does it better. The peace of God does it better." The mind that will not stop does not need to stop. It needs to be guarded. It needs to be gathered. It needs to be stayed. And the God who never sleeps has already posted his sentry at your gate tonight. Before you go, friend, let me say one more thing, because I have a feeling the Lord has been doing something quiet in you all through this. Everything we have walked tonight has been about learning to guard your mind, your home, your peace. And that, friend, is watchman's work. The Bible says in the book of Ezekiel that God appoints watchmen over his people. He said it plainly, "So thou, O son of man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore thou shalt hear the word at my mouth, and warn them from me." And if you have felt something stirring in you tonight, this steady pull to guard your own mind in prayer, to stand in the gap for the people you love most, there is a reason. It is no accident that you are still here. Look in the very first pinned comment below. There is something waiting there for you. But before anything else, do the one thing that matters most. Do not wait until your mind is finally quiet to come to God. Come to God, and let him be the one who quiets your mind. "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." You are not going to win this by trying harder to stop thinking. You are going to win it the way Hannah won it, the way David won it, the way Paul won it in chains. One habit at a time. One worry cast off. One thought taken captive. One still morning with your hands open. One honest night handed over. Until the mind that was pulled into 100 anxious pieces, slowly, quietly comes home and leans its whole weight on him. You are not faithless, friend. You are just tired. And you have been carrying for years what you were never once meant to carry. So set it down. Stay your mind on him. And let that peace which passeth all understanding do the guarding it was always meant to do. The slow miracle is still a miracle. Good night, friend, and God bless.